Hello folks, I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at the short story Rappaccini's Daughter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. It was published in 1844. It's the first story in this book that we've been doing a deep dive into. I didn't read it first because I got it on Monday, which was Monday Night Football, and so I just knocked out a 12-page short story. There's a couple of short stories in, and then last night it was Wednesday, so I had the time and the interest, and this one starts on page 11 and ends on page 49, so it's like almost 38 pages long in this collection. So I knew that I was going to take some of my time in this collection. Obviously it's a little oversized, so I figured it might take probably about an hour and 15 or an hour and 20 minutes. So I started reading this at 7:11 last night, and I finished at 8:03, so I actually finished it very quickly. I was definitely in for Rappaccini's Daughter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Nathaniel Hawthorne is obviously a famous American author who's written a lot of things. He was born in Salem, Massachusetts. He wrote a novel called The Scarlet Letter, which I read when I was in high school. It's a key part of just being literate in America, being familiar with Nathaniel Hawthorne, reading some of his stuff in the Scarlet Letter. Like it's a canonical work of literature that people simply want to make sure that they understand. Right, so he wrote that, and then I haven't read anything by him since then. And then we were doing a deep dive into this cosmic horror collection, Evil Roots, the Evil Tales of the Killer Botanic. I'll link you to this collection below. I started doing a deep dive into some of these horror, killer plant, or deadly plants motifs that this is a key part of in the horror genre for this channel. I watched a YouTube video by a sub channel of the PBS channel called Monstrum that talks about the histories of the various monsters and mythological creatures. And there was an episode that talked about this. The first story that I talked about is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The American Tale, and doing a deeper dive into where this stuff came from, our modern ideas of evil plants. That's actually in this one. I read that one online, and then the second story in that is The Hangman's Tree, which I also found online, and I read it, and I reviewed it for this channel. And then the third one, Lucy H. Hooper's story, I was unable to find, but it is reprinted in this collection, so I just figured I'd just go ahead and buy this collection and do a deep dive into it. It sounds like a lot of fun. Since then, I've read the Louisa H. Hooper thing. There's also a Charlotte Perkins Gilman short story that I just knocked out 2 reviews ago, and now Nathaniel Hawthorne's Rappaccini's Daughter. And then there are also some other big names in here, like Edith Nesbit and Abraham Merritt, both of whom were very prolific during their eras, and were read a lot. So there are still some big names in here to come, like those coming up here soon. Anyway, and H.G. Wells is next, actually, so that's also a big name too. So anyway, so the key concept here, and again, I keep my reviews spoiler-free, so I'll be doing a deep dive into what happens in the spoiler territory. It's set in Italy, in a university, and then our key character is a young person named Giovanni, who has just arrived, and he's looking at this garden that looks beautiful, and he sees this young girl and it's obviously Rappaccini, and it's famous in the area, and then she sees his daughter coming out and talking to him, and he's struck with her early on. And then we find out some darker side of things as things go along, because this is obviously a horror story, right? So it's going to have some dark things that are going to happen, and then that happens too. So that's basically the key story. It's our key character again is a younger man who's brand new to the world, and he is coming across things that are going to definitely change his view of things very quickly. So there you are. I'll go ahead and maybe do it. But again, it's a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed it. Again, I was gripping the entire time. I knocked it out so fast. Faster than I thought I was going to, so that's pretty good. 40 pages an hour is my clip of reading a novel, so I figured this would be more like 30 pages an hour. And that's why I thought it would be longer, but I knocked it out, like I said, in like less than an hour, so that was pretty good. Definitely enjoyed it. I'm going to be giving this an 8-, like a 7.7 or 7.8 that I'm running up to an 8 proper, rather than an 8 proper. It's definitely a lot of fun, has some great pacing, and so forth. But my one major issue with it is that there's just probably a little bit too much to scrap in the story, not enough plot. And honestly, it's probably about 3 or 4 pages too long. And so that's my major critique of the story. And short stories. Back then in 1844, you were probably fine having a short story that had some description and kind of more of a novel length stuff. But today, short stories are expected to be very short, very concise, very fast. Only have descriptions in them that relate to the plot, like Chekhov's gun. If you mention a gun in a play, then you have to. If it's shown, then you have to have it. Then you have to have it. It just can't be like it has to be brought up later on. It has to be a plot point, right? And the same thing's true in a short story, right? If you have a description about something, the idea is that you end up having it showing up in your plot later on, being a key plot point. Well, that doesn't happen, right? There's a lot of just fun stuff in describing the garden, for example. That's nice. It's well done. It's well written. Nathaniel Hawthorne is definitely somebody with a big name to himself, and he does well in this short story. But it's too long. So that's my main critique of the short story. So I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read Rappaccini's Daughter by Nathaniel Hawthorne? If so, what did you think about it? Would you like to talk about spoilers in the comments below or the ending? Let's do so. If you enjoyed this, why not hit that subscribe button? There should be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives. We're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling. I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.